Hey guys, welcome back to the lesson. In the last lesson, we took a look at how to create this really basic setup of our planet, our space environment, and our text animation and camera animation. In this lesson, we're going to be taking a look at enhancing the whole animation, adding particles, adding the atmosphere, adding the lighting, and adding the final color correction and grading, and the final touches to this particular animation. So let's go ahead and get started. So right now, this is what we have here. Just the basic stuff already implemented from the last lesson. Let's go ahead and start with our planet. So right now our planet looks kind of dull. Let's go ahead and select our Earth layer. We'll go under layer styles. We'll add a outer glow, and this is going to create a nice outer atmosphere to our planet. We'll go into the outer glow parameters, and this is where you can kind of choose to be artistic. I'm going to create a kind of a warm atmosphere because I'm going to be using this glow not so much as an atmosphere, but more as a kind of like a sunburst or sun rays from the lens flare that we're going to add soon enough. So we'll just maybe make it a little more warm, and we'll hit OK. Close the Earth for now. So now we have our glow here. Let's go ahead and set up our lighting for our Earth. So right now there's no variation in lighting. Let's go ahead and hop into the layer and add a new light. We'll call this one light. We will make it a kind of a warm light, and we'll really crank up the intensity to around 4300. Hit OK, and I want to position this light to really add some contrast to our Earth here. So we'll move it to the right side, and we'll just kind of push it back, and you can kind of see what it has, what kind of effect it has on the planet here. So right now, all of our star fields kind of disappeared because right now these 3D layers are accepting light. So if we select our space background JPEGs, we'll hit AA to bring up the material options. We'll shut off accept lights. So now our lights are not going to affect the background here. So now we're set. And now we can animate this light to create that nice ellipse that I was trying to talk about. So we'll start off kind of at the edge. We'll go to the beginning here and just adjust the Z position. I want to start off pretty dim, maybe around right here. We'll hit a keyframe for the position. We'll move forward to the maybe where the text comes into place here. So let's see here. Right around here, we want our kind of sun transition to kind of end. So right around here, I'm going to adjust the keyframe for the light, and maybe right around here, maybe halfway, is where I kind of want it to stop. And we will, again, ease these keyframes with F9. So we have that. Maybe we can tone down the light settings just a little bit, maybe to 4000. And then we will go back and maybe make it just a little bit warmer. Maybe like that. Hit OK, hit OK. Now this is just our lighting. Now let's go ahead and add our flare here. And for that, we're going to also be using another light. So we're going to create a new light. We'll call this one sun. We will make it a point light. But we don't want this light to affect our planet here, because our planet is already being lit up by this particular light here. So this is just going to be a reference layer. So we'll set the intensity maybe to like 0, and we'll hit OK. And then we will set the sun pretty far back, because again, we don't want it to move as much. We'll set it at the very edge here, and this is going to be our sun. And for this particular lens flare, I'm going to create a new solid. I'm going to be calling this sun flare. Hit OK. And for this particular lens flare, I'm going to be using a plugin called No Light Factory. But if you have optical flares, which you probably do, you can use optical flares as well. They are both equivalent to matching lights here. So right here, it's telling me, okay, I'm going to use lights for my lens flare location, and it automatically picks the wrong light. So right here, we have an option to use light source naming, and our light that we want to use is called sun. So I'm going to call it name to match to sun. Hit OK. So now our lens flare is stuck to the sun light here. We will change the blending mode from normal to add. That's going to add our flare to the scene. We'll hop into the options for the No Light Factory and select a preset flare. Now my favorite one for sun is usually the EH4 because it has this nice texture to it and it looks pretty nice. and we will hit OK. And then if you just kind of scrub through here, you can see what it does. I'm going to, let's see here, increase the brightness. Maybe increase the size a little bit. Maybe just move the sun just a little bit over. Around right there. We'll hit a keyframe for the brightness and scale. We'll move forward, and I want to create some kind of like a little light burst. So maybe around here, it'll be really, really bright, so we'll increase it even brighter. And then we will move to the end, maybe around the 10-second mark, and we'll just lower it down. We don't want it too bright. We'll set it to maybe around 1, 1.5, and just pull up the brightness just a little bit. Something like that. So here we have, a sun. It gets brighter and brighter. Add some dynamic to the animation, and then kind of fade off. And if we hit U on the keyboard, maybe we can move this last keyframe maybe over a little bit. It will definitely easy ease these keyframes. And then we'll do a quick RAM preview just to see the speed of things. Now that's looking pretty good. Maybe we can make the brightness of the initial flare maybe just a little bit, not as bright. So the transition from, semi-bright to really bright is more dramatic. And then it's going to fade off just like that. And that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and make some of the final touches to this particular animation here. Let's go ahead and add some atmosphere. We can do that by creating a particular system. So we'll create a new solid, call this star particles. Hit OK. You will apply effect, trap code particular, and we'll solo it. We will go to the emitter, change the emitter type from point to box. We will increase the size in Z, really increase the size in X, and increase the size in Y. We'll change the velocity down to around 5 or so it's kind of static. And again, we'll just adjust some of the sizes here. And we'll go into the emission extras. We'll set the prerun to 100. Particle life to around 10. And then we'll go into the opacity over life and select this gradual fade here, fade on, fade off. And then go ahead and increase the opacity randomness as well as the size randomness. And then go ahead and unsolo the layer. So now we have these little particles kind of in the atmosphere, and it's a 3D particle system, so we can have this illusion of depth, even though our background is not really a 3D background. We have a nice 3D particle system to kind of give the illusion that we actually have some depth here. We'll also crank up the number of particles a little bit, like that. We'll also maybe decrease the size of the particles to around 3, and that's looking pretty good. Just some particles in the atmosphere to kind of give us a sense of depth. And then we will go into the star particles layer. We'll duplicate it, call this cloud particles, and this is going to create some of that star dust, I guess. So we will go into the particle type, change it from sphere to cloudlet. We will increase the size by quite a bit. We will go ahead and decrease the number of particles, and we will lower the opacity down quite a bit to around maybe 1 to 1.5. We will increase the size, decrease the particle count, and then we will tint it orange, just so we have some dust flying at the camera as we transition through all this. Pretty cool stuff. Just a little bit here. Maybe change it from 1.5 to 1.25. And we have some nice particles and dust particles. And then we'll enable the motion blur for the cloud particles as well as our star particles. And that should be great. Now let's go ahead and do our final color correction. We'll go into layer, create another new adjustment layer, call it CC. And once again, we'll go ahead and apply Magic Bullet Looks. And we'll hop into the Looks editor. And we will apply a preset. I'm gonna go maybe with the, let's check out the Invasion. This is kind of an intense green one. I'm gonna go with the coolish alternative. It gives you a nice sci-fi feel, a nice cool greenish, bluish, tealish shadows, as well as a nice warm highlight. I'm gonna go to the tools, maybe add a vignette and adjust some of this stuff here. And we'll just hit finish. Some pretty basic color correction, and we just scrub through it. Looks pretty nice. Pretty intense stuff. And then maybe we can go back in here and just add a quick grain to reduce some of the banding stuff. So post, maybe add a film grain, set it to around 1%. Gives it a more soft feel to it, as well as reducing the banding in our gradients. Hit finish. And I feel like maybe we can add just a quick fill light to fill in the dark areas right here. We can't really see any detail here. So we'll go into layer, create another new light. We'll call this one fill light. We'll make this one pretty warm. We'll set the light type from point light to ambient light and set the intensity to around maybe like 10%. And that's just gonna fill in some of the shadows here. So if we hit AA, maybe you can change it to 20%. And that's just going to add some of our detail back in our shadows. We can close that. We can add a quick letterboxing. So create another black solid letterbox. And we'll just draw our quick letterboxing. And we will set the mask to subtract. And turn off our title safe, and let's go ahead and do one quick last RAM preview. So just like that, we created a really nice, Earth reveal opening title. We have our nice lens flare, our nice text transition, our planet, some nice color correction, color grading, a nice glowing atmosphere, some star particles to add some volumetric depth, some smoke particles to give it some more atmosphere, a nice little lens texture on our lens flare, and just an overall pretty nice animation, really quick and easy to create using Element 3D and Trapcode in particular for the most part. So really nice animation. Now also in the original demonstration I added some fade in and fade out, but again, that's very easy to do. So if you guys want to take this a little bit further, you can add maybe a spaceship here, a space station, maybe add some asteroids in the background, maybe add another moon over here or another planet in the background. There's a lot you can do, but I think overall we created a pretty interesting animation. A lot of things are happening, a lot of small little details are in the animation, and overall I think it looks pretty decent. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the lesson. In the next lesson we're going to be taking a look at shattering some titles, so very interesting and dynamic stuff, some crazy stuff were happening, so definitely can't wait for that. But until next time, my name is Vincent Nguyen, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Bye guys.